Hey guys, we're working on this 2011 Honda CR-V. Today we're going to be changing out front struts. So first things first, here's the torque specs. Sway bar link, 58 foot-pounds. Strut to the knuckle, 116 foot-pounds. The wheel nuts are going to be 80 foot-pounds. And the strut to the body is going to be 33 foot-pounds. Now the first thing I'm going to do to get started is take this cover off so we can gain access to the strut mounting nuts, which this one's sort of a unique design. Most struts have 3 nuts. This one actually has 5, and it's in an oddly shaped pattern, but this little cover just pops off of here. And once we get this off, then we just set that aside. You can see the 5 nuts that are in there. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to undo all of them, but I'm going to leave this one right here on by a few threads so that the strut does not drop down, but loose enough where when we want to take the strut out, we can just reach up top with our hand, easily take it off and take the strut out. So these nuts up here are 14mm nuts. I've got a bit of an extension on to a deep socket, and let's just get those loosened off. Okay, now we can just take out all the loose nuts. Try not to drop them. And I might actually grab just a magnet so that I can get that last one off of there. All right, just to go over some of the tools quickly here that you're going to need for the job. First thing, penetrating fluid. If you have some rusty fasteners or the car is rusty, it's going to help you a lot. Also going to need a trim tool like this to remove a wire that's attached to the strut. You're going to need a 19mm wrench, a 12mm socket, doesn't matter if it's deep or shallow. And then we want 22, 19, and 17mm sockets, preferably all in impact. And a pair of pliers, I think maybe, safety glasses, torque wrench, the socket and ratchet that I used just 2 seconds ago. Impact gun, preferably pneumatic. You could use a big ratchet if you want, if you don't have access to air or electric. And also a drill with a wire brush if you're in a rusty area. That's really going to help. And I think that's about it. So we've got to get this wheel off. Pretty simple, 19mm socket, 5 wheel nuts. So the next thing that you're going to want to do, we're actually going to take the sway bar link off first, followed by our brake hose. So we'll do the sway bar link first. That's going to be, should be anyways, a 17mm nut, as long as they're still factory sway bar links. So once you get that off, then we're going to switch out for a 12mm socket to get our brake line bolt off. You can see I've already prepped all these bolts for the video, but realistically, I had to heat up this sway bar link nut to get that off. It was super rusted on there. Same with this hose, it was really rusted on there. Now I didn't heat this because of the rubber hose, but you may want to consider just changing out the sway bar links altogether if you're going to do struts. A lot of times these joints just get completely destroyed from spinning around trying to get them out. And yeah, so next thing we want to take off is our wheel speed sensor wire. So you can see we've got a rubber grommet here, and hidden underneath all of this dirt and undercoating is actually a plastic clip, and that's where this trim tool is going to come in handy. So I'm going to try to sneak that in underneath of here, and a lot of times these break, but we'll see if we can just get that off. Try to bend that plastic back so that we can reuse that. And then we just wiggle this rubber grommet out of place, and sort of set that to the side. Now just keep in mind when you go to take these bolts out, that's the last thing holding the strut to the knuckle itself. The knuckle has a tendency it's going to want to fall forwards, so that's why we've got we had to take these off because they're attached to the strut, but it's only going to buy us so much slack for this to move forwards before these get tight. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you might want to prop something up against this so that it doesn't fall too far forward. Now to get the main bolts off from the knuckle to the strut, we're going to use a 22mm socket for the nuts, and the bolts, the heads of the bolts are actually 19, so that's where the wrench comes in handy. Now you can see I've just left the bolts in there, and we can just go ahead and take these out. If you just like push on the knuckle back and forth, it'll give you enough slack to sort of get the bolt out. Sometimes you have to actually wind the bolt back out, sort of thread it out. There we go, and then we just separate this like that. This is just gonna kind of sit here like so, but now we're ready to lower the car down so that I can reach the top of it. For those of you at home doing this on the driveway or in the garage without a lift, that's gonna be in a good spot because we're gonna have to hold the strut with one arm, reach up with the other one, take the last nut off so we can get this thing out. You might wanna get yourself an assistant, but it is doable by yourself. Okay, now we're just gonna put a little bit of pressure up on the strut so that we can get this last nut off, unthread it the rest of the way. And once that's off, we can just carefully lower this thing down and out of the road. Just be careful not to set the strut onto the CV boot. We don't want to tear the boot, and we also don't want to catch any of the lines or anything either. So just be careful of that. But now that we got the strut out, we're ready to basically do everything in reverse, put the new strut in and go from there. All right, so this strut, there is a left and a right. So just look and see. You can see our sway bar link mount right here, our brake hose mount, and this is for our ABS wheel speed sensor. So this is the correct one for the passenger side. And then I'm just gonna take these protective covers off because we need those off. And now we're ready to install this into the vehicle. So I'm just going to feed this in here the way I took it out. And we're going to feed this up into the hole. That's all you gotta do is just start one of the nuts and that can sit there. So now we're just gonna go back up with it and we're gonna get all this done, and then we can go ahead and finish the top and sort of put that all together. All right, now we just gotta lift up this assembly and we wanna sort of get this strut lined up with the knuckle. And then we just got to get one of these bolts in here. Just like that. Now we're pretty much ready to get everything else back together. Made sure that our lines are on the right side, all that stuff. So let's get these nuts put on here. I'm just pretty much going to start all the fasteners and then we'll go ahead and run them all down and torque them all. All right, now we might as well torque everything while we're here right now. So let's get started. We'll do the big ones first. So these two big nuts and bolts that hold the strut to the knuckle. Remember in the beginning of the video, I said that they were going to be 116 foot-pounds. So let's get a torque wrench, tighten those down. I think I need an extension for that. All right, now we can do, we'll do the sway bar link nut. So that's going to be 58 foot-pounds. Had her pretty close on that one. This 12 millimeter that holds this brake line on, I couldn't find a torque spec for it, but pretty snug. So don't want to snap it off, but at the same time, don't want it falling out. And then I guess what we need to do now is once you get that snug down, we're pretty much ready to do the 5 nuts that secure the strut to the body. So let's lower this car down and get that done. Okay, so what I want to do here is just run this nut down right here so that it's almost tight. And you see how it just pulled in these studs a little closer. So now I can actually take the other 4 nuts and get them started. And then once we do that, we'll be able to go around and snug them all down and follow it up with a torque. Try not to drop these because if you do, they're going to go down underneath of the window cowl where you can't really reach them, and then this all has to come off, so just don't drop them. All right guys, I'm going to try to use the magnet here for this last one that's down back in here just to get it started because it's not in a very nice spot. Like I say, take your time with this and just don't drop the nuts. That's the goal, don't drop the nuts. All right, we're going to torque those down to 33 foot-pounds. That's what it calls for. Every single one of them. Doesn't matter what order you do it in. I'm just going to try to go across from each other in like sort of a star pattern. I also like to do 2 passes just to be sure. And then yeah, once we get this torqued down, everything's cool, we can put that cover back on. And we're almost done. We just need to get the wheel on after that. Okay, that's all done. Let's get this cover on. So pretty simple. We just sort of line these little tabs up with these slots, push them into place. There's a rubber right here. We just want to make sure that it's kind of off to the side this way so that that'll fit on. Take our little trim, slip that on like so. Now we're going to lift this thing back up, get this wheel on, and we should be done. Get all of our wheel nuts started. Now it's a good idea to clean the surface between the rim and the brake rotor. Just make sure there's no corrosion or rust or anything on there like that. We want a nice clean surface. Now we're going to run these down. And now all we need to do is just torque the wheel nuts and we're done. These get torqued to 80 foot-pounds according to the manufacturer. I personally like to do 100. Do them in a 5-star pattern and do 2 passes of that. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully you liked this video. Hopefully it helped. Throw any comments. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.